Welcome again to the Honest FulPhilment channel. Today this video is quite late because it's in relation to EU VAT, which came into play at the time shooting this video about 2 weeks ago. And the reason why I didn't create a video previously is simply because it was quite confusing, not only to dropshippers but even to us, because there were various mixed messages from different shipping companies, Unit Express, Yamen, as well as what the actual EU governments were saying. It was going to, 100% you had to pay EU VAT for EU sales, whereas some shipping companies were like, no, it's going to be the same as the UK with the 1st of January rules. But I can tell you now, quick answer to the question is, do you have to pay for EU sales? It's yes, you do, but there are lots of ifs, and we're going to address them all today in this video. So without further ado, let's get cracking.
Right, okay. The dreaded EU VAT. So what happens if you if you don't register an IOSS number? Well, this is the thing. There isn't a simple answer. A few shipping companies work differently, so we'll have a look at a few main ones. So Unit Express and Yamen, actually they operate the same or very similarly. So they prepay the VAT. Again, this is if you do not have an IOSS number. So let's say you're a typical dropshipper or e-commerce store owner, sending goods from China to the EU. Unit Express and Yamen will prepay the VAT if you don't have a number. Then your fulfillment company would pay that. So Yamen and Unit Express will bill your fulfillment company, and then your fulfillment company would then obviously invoice you, however they do it. Now, the VAT rate is based on the respective country's VAT rate. So using the UK as an example, it'll be 20%. Then Unit Express add 2% on top of that. So in effect, you're paying like a total of 22%. So that 2% is kind of like their service fee for using their IOSS number. Now, don't get me wrong, if you pay this, it doesn't mean you're scot-free and you've paid your VAT to the EU or to that country's government. No, you would have to have your own IOSS number and all registered in your business for you to then pay that to the local government, and then if you're able to claim it back, you can, but I'm not going to get into that. So this is I've kind of advised this for dropshippers or e-commerce store owners who are doing kind of lower volume to the EU. If you're doing quite high volume, then obviously you would want to find a tax professional and get them to sort it all out with your own IOSS number. So Yamen again is exactly the same as Unit Express, but their kind of extra fee is not 2%. It varies country to country, but it varies from 2% to like I think 6%. So, and it does add up. That extra 3 to 4% on top of Unit Expresses can make quite a big difference. Now, to make it clear here, the VAT percent is based on the declared value of the parcel. So, say for example, you're selling a product for $50. And a customer orders 3, so a total of $150. That's not what you pay the VAT on. The declared value is what your fulfillment company or agency sets it on their back end, on their system. So maybe almost all fulfillment companies and agency under declare. They declare very low value. That's based on the previous import legislations. So, you know, before all this EU VAT and UK VAT came into play, as most of you may know, and I've created a video on this with the UK VAT. With the UK, before 2021, anything under the value, I think it was like £22, you didn't have to pay any VAT or duty. So, and that's the case with almost all countries, but the threshold differs. So what most companies would do was to underdeclare the contents or the product. So instead of, you know, if the product was valued at $50, they will just put it as $2 or $3 or something, and then the end user or your customers wouldn't have to pay the VAT or duty. So in this case, it's kind of the same, but you pay the VAT regardless. So yeah, okay. Going back to the example of you sold 3 products, total of $150, but say your fulfillment company set the declared value as $5 for the product. You'll be paying the VAT of 15 on the total value, which will be $15. You know, $5 times 3 products in there, and you'll pay the 22% rather, based on the UK, on that $15. So you have to obviously keep this in mind. If you were doing it the other way, where you have your own IOSS number, then it would be based on the actual sales value, the point of sale, so on your store, $150, and that will hurt a lot. So there's obviously advantages and disadvantages. Having it registered, having no IOSS, and allowing or just going through the shipping carrier, Unexpress Yemen, using their IOSS, and they're just billing you for the declared value, is obviously much cheaper, but in effect you're not really paying any VAT. It's kind of like a loophole, so to speak. Anyway, let's crack on. 4PX, as I said, each carrier works differently. 4PX, they work the same as Unexpress and Yemen, only for Italy, Spain and France. If you don't have any IOSS number outside of these 3 EU countries, then you cannot use 4PX as a service. You physically cannot print a label. Sanyo, which is quite a common and popular liquid line, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of that. They actually started the same way as Unexpress and Yemen. I think they operated about 2 weeks, where they were paying for the VAT and then billing us afterwards. But now it's changed. They don't prepay that anymore. Instead, they would the last mile for the parcels will be delivered by the respective national postal service in that country. So again, using UK as an example, that will be Royal Mail, and then the recipient will then be responsible for paying the VAT, any VAT and duty. Again, I don't know how true and accurate this is, because Sanyo isn't the quickest of service, and this started about, I don't know, just 2 weeks ago, or just over 2 weeks ago. So we haven't had, this is what they're telling us. We haven't had any like major customer complaints, or as in our clients saying that their customers are getting contacting them complaining, or they're getting chargebacks because the post office is asking them to pay the VAT and duty. Although that's, worst case scenario, that's what you should base it on, because that's what Sanyo have told us. But it could be okay. Maybe they're going through and being delivered okay. and VAT isn't being charged. But it's still early days. Maybe in the next 2 weeks we'll get a better idea of exactly what's happening. UBI, which are a decent shipping company and is strong in Oceania. They do have a few EU shipping lines, although they do not, if you have no ISS number, they cannot, again, similar to 4PX, they will not send any parcels at all. If you have no ISS number, we cannot physically print the label, so you can't use their service. So the next question is, if you do register and have an ISS number, then what happens? Well, as briefly explained not so long ago, you would have to provide that to your fulfillment company, and then they would register it in their system, and you would obviously have to, everything's recorded, you would have to then pay that VAT to that local government, but then, I don't want to go into too much detail. One, because I'm not a qualified professional when it comes to tax, and two, it's not so clear cut. So when it comes to the amount of VAT that you charge and how much you pay, and then some products are charge different VAT rates as well, etc. But the long and short of it is that if you have your own IOSS number, you can pretty much use any shipping carrier service. You just have to provide that number, and then the VAT is sorted out afterwards. Again, recommend a tax professional. They will be able to better advise you, and they'll be able to manage it all for you. Another question is, and you're probably wondering and thinking, is there any way around this? Again, I can't answer this question. It's definitely something you need to ask a professional, get consulted. They may have some ways around it. So, if you are a business within the EU, then you can always offset that VAT or claim it back if you're VAT registered. If you're not, then I'm guessing no. It's just an added overhead and an additional obstacle in dropshipping and e-commerce. But again, best to go and find a very qualified e-commerce accountant preferably, and I'm sure they would have some ideas and run some things by you. But I'm in no position to advise on this in detail. Alright, one of the last question rather is the UK a part of all of this? Not really. Again, I'll mention my UK VAT video that I created, and this was kind of part of the reason why this video is quite late, simply because based on the UK VAT rules legislation that came into play on the 1st of January 2021, it was a similar kind of thing. Everyone was asking and worried, what's going to happen, we're going to have to pay extra VAT and this, that and the other. But in the end, it wasn't like these EU changes. Parcels are being sent regardless of which carrier you're using. They're being sent and they're going for okay. You don't, the shipping carriers aren't charging or prepaying VAT, or they're not declining the use of their service if you don't have a UK VAT number. So we and a lot of other companies were under the impression that it was going to be the same thing. It was the case that you had to register and you had to do everything properly, but you're not going to be charged VAT by your fulfillment company or the shipping carrier or whoever. But you know, from the just before July, when this came into play, it wasn't the case. That's when we actually were started to get charged from Express and other shipping carriers. We knew it was different, and that's kind of why I've left this video late, so we had first-hand experience and actually know how. I mean, even now, as you can see, all these different carriers are operating in different ways, and we still don't know the full picture. Maybe a month or two down the line, it might change slightly, or some carriers may start operating differently. So we can't see the full picture yet. So the UK is still okay. There's UK is not part of the EU anymore. So any parcels you do send to the UK go through fine, whether you've registered for VAT or not. So you don't have to worry about that. If UK is your good selling geo for you, nothing changes there. So that's it. Again, as mentioned, I didn't want to go into too much detail here because it can go kind of down a rabbit hole, and it's quite a complex subject, and even for tax professionals, it's also still quite new to them as well. So which is why I mention, if you do go and find a tax professional, find one that's very experienced and knowledgeable and actually specialises in e-commerce and dropshipping. It would save you a lot of time and money. So once again, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. There's going to be many more videos in the next few months, not only obviously about any updates regarding EU VAT, but other cool videos in general. So enjoy the summer, what's left of it, and I will see you guys again soon.